Rick Wilson, at a more basic societal level, when you think about it, in the last 7 to 10 days, we have come to know a landscaper from Connecticut who, pardon the double negative, Lev Parnas said he has never seen him not drunk. And now the European guy in the MAGA hat with a Belgian IP address. How is it that we come to meet these characters surrounding, in the orbit of, the President of the United States?
There is some mystical gravitational force surrounding Donald Trump that attracts the worst grifters, skells, scumbags, roadside hobos, incipient serial killers, and weirdos. These guys are attracted to him because they're like the D and E and F level operatives in this world. And for whatever reason, they feel empowered. And it's pretty easy. You show up at the Trump Hotel. If you can afford the $22 cocktails, you're in the club. And so that's why we see guys like Hyde showing up. And that's why you see all these other sort of oddball characters always surrounding Trump. And it's also because, most of the people that are in this Rudy Parnas orbit in particular, they come out of this Eastern European, whatever version of hustle they're running is always inflected with whatever the sort of post-Soviet corruption vibe. And it seems to be very much, definitional to Trump's orbit.
Rick, starting with you, I want you and Maya to answer the same question. And I hate that it's in a negative vein. About the impeachment trial, what are you girding for or resigned to?
Well, I'm girding for Mitch McConnell to choke this thing out as quickly as he can. There is no other option for McConnell right now. If the dam breaks on any vote, and the reason he didn't go for an immediate dismissal vote, obviously, as everyone else has covered, was that he knows if he loses one, it shakes the idea that he can control this process completely. So he's going to be very careful. He's going to move as quickly as he possibly can. He's going to try to make this as dull as he can, which I think is, why, as Klain was saying to you earlier, he thought he's going to win by moving it into the night. I think there's enormous public interest in this. But on the optimistic side, there will always be more information coming. And these senators are not blind to the fact that Trump lies to them all the time, and that every time they think they've gotten to the bottom of something with Trump, there's worse things below it. So I think you're going to see some skepticism building, especially as the outside coverage continues to roll on in terms of both the Parnas story and the other revelations about the Ukraine situation.
Hey there, I'm Chris Hayes from MSNBC. Thanks for watching MSNBC on YouTube. If you want to keep up to date with the videos we're putting out, you can click subscribe just below me or click over on this list to see lots of other great videos.